The first trailer for Avatar Fire and Ash has dropped, and while all eyes are on the new villain and the blazing visuals, we're wondering what is going on with the RDA. Here are 5 major clues in the trailer that point to a new, darker plan for the Resources Development Administration, and later in the video, we talk about how this new fire clan might mean trouble for Pandora's force child, Kiri. Number 1, RDA's next game plan might not be about taking down Pandora themselves, but letting it burn itself down. Let's start with the biggest question in the entire trailer: where are the humans? The RDA are the ones who burned the forest, invaded the oceans, and turned Pandora into a battlefield. They're barely in this footage. No skyships, no soldiers, no voiceovers, just silence. And that is exactly what makes this trailer so dangerous. In Avatar, silence from the RDA is never peace, it's tactics. We know from the first 2 movies that this system will not stop until humans are able to plant their flag in the visually astounding lands of Pandora. After being humbled twice, the RDA seems to be shifting strategies. Instead of brute force, they might be pivoting to something even more effective: a systematic civil war between our heroes and the newest threatening clan. The Ash people aren't human, but they live in a dead land, a scorched region full of pain, fire, and anger. They reject Iwa, and they reject unity. And if the RDA is watching from the sidelines, they probably are smiling, because if your enemy is splintered, grieving, and turning on itself, that's when you make your move. This is the perfect opportunity to employ a more ground root style of takeover. Traditionally, the Na'vi are in lockstep with the natural god Iwa, who is represented by the environment around them. But if this new clan is without that connection, there's a great opportunity for the RDA to take advantage of this separation in what we know as the most important thing in Pandora's culture. On to our second point. Of all the characters in this trailer, Quaritch is the most visible link to the RDA, and that's no accident. Stephen Lang's franchise antagonist is the military lead for the RDA, and that has always been the hammer to Jake Sully's nail, and he's back. He's not leading a charge like in the first film. He's fully indoctrinated into his Na'vi body and navigating his revenge with the cover of a native. He's moving quietly, observing, lurking, because Quaritch isn't a general anymore with the backing of a master plan and the reasoning of fighting for his species. He's a weapon set out for revenge and with the sole purpose of avenging his past failures. And he may not be trying to defeat Jake Sully by force, he's trying to undo him from the inside. We know Quaritch has history of a spider. We learned in The Way of Water that he is Spider's father, giving him a personal stake in Jake Sully's family, which can complicate things. We know he's now in his Na'vi body, and we know he carries deep personal hatred for everything Jake represents. But here's a new wrinkle. What if Quaritch finds some common ground with the Ash people? A former enemy becomes a friend. Fire-wielding, Iwa-rejecting tribe that's ready for war, and a former human with a score to settle. That's a combustible alliance, and one that can attack the Sully family and our hero Na'vi on a personal, global, and strategic level. The RDA may not be visible in this trailer, but their most dangerous asset is front and center. And if Quoric can turn the Ash people into a sledgehammer, Jake might not survive until the next chapter. The biggest question, though: how does Quaritch's failures in the previous 2 movies affect his status with the RDA? We've seen very recently in the hit show Andor that these types of ruling bodies are willing to cast you aside the moment you are no longer useful. This could flip this entire thing on its head. If Quaritch is being abandoned by his company he started this war with, that could lead us to a classic face turn, which would be very on par for the 3rd installment of such a big franchise. Number 3, the Ash people might be a weaponized tribe. Now, let's talk about the Mengwan clan. This is the Ash people. This is the trailer's biggest reveal: a volcanic, ashen region of Pandora ruled by a fierce new tribe. These Na'vi are unlike anything we've ever seen before. Darker skin, charred war paint, and fire-based combat. They fight with a flame and disregard. Their environment is all smoke and lava, very different from all the Na'vi we've seen before. More than anything, they have no connection to Iwa. They don't pray, they don't chant, they don't sing to the trees. The spiritual lifeblood of Pandora means nothing to them, which is huge. That's a huge shift in this franchise. Iwa is the North Star for everything natives of Pandora follow, and it makes them incredibly dangerous, unpredictable, unstable, and potentially vulnerable, or, if you're looking to incite a civil war on Pandora, very useful. Because what if the RDA didn't just stumble across this tribe? What if they encouraged them, supplied them, even subtly manipulated them into becoming the RDA's blunt instrument? Remember, Quaritch and the RDA used fire to attack Jake Sully's clan in the way of the water, forcing them into the trees and looking for safe passage through their own home. Who is to say this was the only flame-fueled attack? This is a big planet, and the Ash people may have come across their situation through the RDA, forcing them into an antagonistic role within the story. We've seen this strategy in human history: exploit the pain, stoke the fire, and then weaponize that anger. The Ash people live in the one place on Pandora where nature is dead, and that makes them the perfect cover for whatever dark plan the RDA might be building. The more we learn about this new clan, the more it feels like something bigger is behind it, and that something bigger is often the big corporation looking to get their way through nefarious means. Now, the RDA might be behind all this, but let's take a look at our new big bad, Vang. She's a rival queen. Una Chaplin is here to steal the show. But look closer. Vang is not evil. She's determined. James Cameron has described her as a hero of her own people. And honestly, the trailer backs that up. She's not hiding in the shadows. She's with them on the front lines, ready to fight. This isn't a tyrant. This is a queen, and the best villains are the ones that are the heroes of their own story. Vang does not reject Eywa because she's cruel. She does it because Eywa abandoned her and her people. She doesn't fight the Sullys because she's evil. She fights because she's protecting what little of her people she has left. This is the most personal conflict we've seen yet. One side driven by faith, one side driven by fury. When those two things collide, it won't feel like hero versus villain. It'll feel like two warriors fighting for their truth. If the RDA is influencing anything behind the scenes, Vang might not even know it, or worse, she might know exactly what they're doing and not care. If I had to make a prediction, Vang comes across her passion and hatred honestly. It feels a little easy for the RDA to have created the Ash people and be working with them toward a common goal of taking back their land. I have to imagine if the RDA is involved with the Fire Nation of Pandora, it is through some puppet master means the perfect opportunity to let the Na'vi destroy themselves in a civil war situation. But this is Avatar, so I'm not going to put past them going the easy way. Now, finally, how does this land, how do these people, and how does the RDA's plan affect our heroes? Let's shift the focus to the Sully, specifically Kiri, played by Sigourney Weaver. There's a haunting moment in the trailer where we see Kiri surrounded by a lifeless terrain, ash on the ground, black skies overhead, no trees, no animals, no sound. Out of her element. It's a terrifying image, especially for a character like Kiri, who is so deeply connected to Pandora's spiritual core. In the way of water, Kiri was the emotional anchor. She heard Eywa, felt Eywa, merged with Eywa. It was powerful and dangerous, but it gave her purpose. It made her the force child of this whole thing. Now, that connection might be gone. The Ash people live on a land that Eywa has seemingly abandoned. No spirit trees, no glowing life, just fire. Kiri can't feel Eywa here. What happens to her then? Does she spiral? Does she question everything? Could she even turn? Because if the RDA is targeting Pandora's soul, this might be their ultimate victory. Disconnect their strongest Na'vi from the planet itself. Kiri isn't just vulnerable in battle, she's vulnerable inside, right here. And that's where the real war might be fought. Right here in the heart. So, here's what we're looking at. A new villain, a new tribe, a new region of Pandora that's hostile to life and faith. But lurking beneath it all, potentially the RDA. Quiet, calculating, and more dangerous than ever. Avatar Fire and Ash isn't just a battle between the Na'vi tribes, it's a spiritual war, a war for Pandora's heart. And if the RDA can fracture that bond from the inside, they don't need to drop bombs, they don't need to send soldiers, they can just sit back, relax, and watch everybody tear themselves apart. They just need to wait for the ashes to settle. Quoric is still out there, Vang is rising, Kiri cracking, and somewhere the RDA might just be pulling the strings. So let us know in the comments what you think their real plan might be in Avatar Fire and Ash, and if you caught any clues that we missed, drop them below. I'm Roembke, and until then, see you next time.